It's live.
Fantastic.
I know.
Definitely a
It's
change for the better, that's
almost
for sure.
like I know how this streaming stuff kind of works. Only
But
kind of.
just kind of.
Just enough to usually get myself into trouble with it. Anyway,
Anyway, settings, types of settings,
yep.
gods. We got lots to
And
talk about today.
hopefully we will be joined by a couple others here in a short while. What do you want to start with? Gods or
Oh, I
settings or anything in particular?
well, I'd like to start with uh hmm, gods because that's an interesting topic, a particularly interesting topic to me because I really like designing religions for my setting.
Fair enough.
Um, so let's start with just I'm going to give a brief description of the types of like the way different gods gods are used differently in various settings. Obviously, there's some where you don't get to meet them. This is kind of how I like to do it, where there are religions and you never meet the gods of the religions. It's like, as an example, it's like the real world. How you no one except maybe prophets have met the gods, but they're not an unarguable, definite fact of the universe. It's something that if you want to persuade people that they exist, it's a persuasion. Um, it's why there's more than one religion out there. There, it's also kind of like the way they handle it in The Witcher, where you can like praise Melitele or uh, the other gods. I'm not very familiar with the various religions in The Witcher, but and I really like that setting because it opens up the opportunity, opens up more opportunities. At least in my opinion, it lets you pick and choose. But there's also a very common fantasy trope where the gods are real, people know them, they're encountered. Sometimes they just get involved in daily life, or they frequently get involved in daily life, and that's also pretty fun. Not my preferred way to do it, but it's pretty fun. That's kind of like Tolkien, how we know the Valar created the world first by singing about it, and then by actually getting involved and doing it. Um, and I'm sure there's other ways of doing it. Like that's how they do it in Shadowrun. But with Shadowrun, it's more like the dragons are the gods instead of actual gods being gods.
Yeah, because Shadowrun uses the real world religions for a lot of its religions, so the gods function exactly like they do here in the real world in Shadowrun. You also don't really have the divine caster aspect like you do in D&D.
Oh yeah, that is another big thing: the differentiation between divine magic and arcane magic. That the way you approach religion in your world really affects.
Yeah, because I know in the past I've talked with you about the gods that I have and the setting that I created, and they are the embodiment of concepts, or at least the top tier of gods are all embodiment of concepts. And then you have some lesser gods that are mortals that attained godhood through any one of a numerous ways. But they used to interact in the world a lot more, but over time kind of realized that the very heavy-handed approach isn't really good for the mortals or the gods, and therefore have kind of taken a step back and chosen to work more through prophets, clerics, paladins, the divine casters of the world as well as specific messengers in that. Just because of the fact that it gives a separation between everyone and the gods. There's at least this one separation where certain people might actually have seen them, get to talk to them, get visions, whatever. But most people don't, and therefore they have to rely on some faith. But they still at the same time have this obvious evidence that there are gods from these divine casters that can do things that only divine casters can, not just the same things that your arcane casters can. Excuse me.
So, the way I handle deities in my setting is that actual religions that everyone, that like day-to-day religions that lots of people practice, the mainstream ones, you never meet the gods ever. Like they are all completely obscured, and um, I do not, honest to God, I personally don't even have an answer to which religion is real or how's it work. I don't have an answer because if I have an answer, I might accidentally break that system of no one knows. If I don't know, then really no one can possibly know. But if I create an answer, I might decide, whatever, I'll throw this into my setting, and then whoops, people know. So for some things, I legitimately, there is not an answer within the creation of the world because I specifically don't want anyone to know. And by creating an answer, it's like saying, hey, I want someone to find out someday. I never want you to know actual gods.
And that's fair. Because, like, I have a spot in my lore where there's a god known as the Nameless God. And he used his name to seal away, like, the Great Old Ones. As part of the spell, if that name is spoken again, the lock comes undone. So, literally, the gods know what his name is, but they all won't speak it. And only the original gods know what his name is. To everyone else, he always just goes by these titles, like the Nameless God. And I have no idea what that name is. I never wrote it. I don't know. And I won't know unless, for some reason, I eventually have a player that decides they want to bring about the end of the world.
The way I would handle that, 9 times out of 10. See, and the way I would handle that player who brings about the end of the world.
Oh, they're gonna die.
Oh yeah. Well, first
they're not gonna ever find that name. They're gonna die. You have a lot of very angry gods if they tried.
I wouldn't actually try to force them to stop. I wouldn't make it an impossible task or anything like that. I would just make it so that they have to somehow convince one of the gods who already knows it to speak the name.
That's just it. They'd have to do that, and most of those gods would kill them before ever revealing that kind of information. Just because of how detrimental they know it would be to the world. So you'd really have to come up with a real good way to trick, like, one of the original gods into speaking that name. And technically, if they speak that name, it undoes the seal, so they'd have to come up with some way to basically pry this information out of a god's mind. Which, don't get me wrong, I loved to see someone try. I don't think it'll work. But you never know. Which is why I just go with the default assumption that they're probably gonna die.
So the way I do not quite understand your the whole um,
The existing
the
as
idea.
concept.
No. I understand that. What I don't understand is I don't quite follow what you mean by it would break the seal or something.
Essentially, they sealed the old ones, ancient gods, whatever you want to call them, away and used the name as part of the locking mechanism.
Right. That much I got.
So,
But at some point you made a like reference to something.
yeah, breaking a seal. That name is the first seal to break to let to start unraveling the spell, essentially. Basically, if you look up the rules for imprisonment, it has to have a condition that has to be plausible as part of the condition for the spell. And I used the assumption that even deities would use a version of that to be ridiculously powerful. And as such, they needed a condition, and the condition was speaking this name. Because at the time all of this took place, there wasn't a whole hell of a lot of other options for what they could have picked as a condition. There were basically the gods and the arena that they were currently fighting in. But yeah. Essentially, they're working on a version of imprisonment that's magnitudes of times stronger than the actual imprisonment spell.
All right, that makes sense.
Yeah.
All right, I follow you. I now understand exactly. I thought there was something else you mentioned. I must have just misheard you.
No, that's really all it is it's basically a version of that spell that was used to help imprison these monsters away. And these would be, the old ones, the great old ones that you would see warlock packs made with. They're the others, the outsiders, any number of those kind of names. The dark gods, the old gods, the gods of chaos, whatever you want to call them. The primordial gods.
Yeah, I follow you.
Yeah, the name's irrelevant. For simplicity, I usually just call them the great old ones, because that's what most people would be familiar with, because people who get into role-playing games usually at least have some passing knowledge of that term from the Cthulhu mythos.
Yeah.
Even if they haven't actually read any of the Cthulhu mythos.
I like the I do like that idea. That is really cool. I cannot remember how we got to this.
We were talking about various gods and information that we have purposely never written down or come up with.
Right.
You said you have about a lot of your religions. I have certain things, like I have no idea what the goddess of death looks like, because I wrote a thing in the lore about no one has ever actually seen her face and lived to tell about it.
Because she is death. Yeah, that makes sense.
The concept of death. You don't get to meet death in the actual flesh and survive it.
If you meet her, it's because you die.
Now, there are versions of her that are recorded, but they're not necessarily accurate. Just like most of the versions of my gods are, at least the original gods, have this habit of taking on the appearance of whatever species they're talking to. So there are lots of versions of what these gods look like, and no one's entirely sure which one, if any of them, are accurate. So, they're talking to a tiefling, however you want to say it, I don't care. They're going to look like that. The red-ish, purplish, bluish, whatever skin, solid colored eyes, horns, the whole thing. But they'll have certain aspects that are always the same. Like the Nameless God always having the appearance of a war-torn soldier with the battered armor and the traveling cloak, rather than anything else. Like, that's always the attire. Even if it doesn't necessarily make sense for the species, it's still the same attire. So, like,
Now that's cool.
yeah. So, like, an example would be, like, the Pythonians, which are my version of the Yuan-Ti. They are a very magically heavy society. And as such, heavy armor isn't necessarily something that they're going to even equip some of their best soldiers with, because they're going to rely on enchantments rather than armor. But one of them meeting the Nameless God, he would take on the appearance of them. But in this heavy plate that's significantly damaged, like it's seen untold battles. The Goddess of Death, for example, when they have appeared, their face is always completely obscured, either behind a veil or a helmet, depending on why they've appeared. She's actually one of the few that I have written 2 different appearances for. She has kind of a battle appearance and a more regal appearance. The regal appearance has, like a crown of bones and this veil that always obscures her face, so you can't actually see it. And then dark, shining, almost obsidian armor for her battle design. And that takes into account the fact most of the oldest of the gods have a battle design, because these would have been the ones that were actually engaged in fighting the old ones at the beginning. And as such, typically have this battle version that is probably closer to their original appearance than whatever regal form they choose to take on. The exception being the Nameless God, who doesn't care and refuses to take on a regal appearance ever. He knows who he is, and that's all that he cares about.
So, I do not have that much design for any particular gods.
But the gods I have function very differently than the gods you have. My gods are objectively real. They speak to their clerics and paladins. They are an active force in the world, where yours are a passive force in the world.
They are theoretically non-existent. They are potentially not even existent, even.
Which is why I said they're passive. They do not actively engage in the world. And that's just it. My gods very rarely do the actual divine intervention, where they themselves interfere in the way the world works. Except the Nameless God. He likes to wander around. Usually pretty much ignoring everyone, but He's one of the few that actually likes to wander the prime material realm. Which means he's one of the few that you actually have a chance to meet in the flesh in my campaign setting without too much difficulty. I wouldn't pick a fight with him, though.
No, usually if someone gets to call themselves a god for more than 0 time ever, there's someone you don't want to pick a fight with.
No. And go ahead.
So I was gonna say with my gods, because I'm gonna decide. I decided I'm talking now for a little bit. With my gods, I very deliberately have religions built. Several of them don't have any deities whatsoever, or deific entities that are not themselves deities. For instance, I got one religion that worships basically a tree. It is definitely an objectively magical tree, without a question. But it is, by all other accounts, could just be a tree.
I think we talked about this in one of the other GM talks.
We might have. I'm very fond of this religion because it is very cool, in my opinion.
Yeah. That's why I think we talked about it before, because I think we briefly touched on gods and religions. Nothing quite as in-depth as what we're doing today.
Yeah. So I will build up a religion first, and then I will move on to filling up gods, or like making the gods into people. And the gods as people are not characters. They are strictly, they're gods more in the sense of actual religions, where they don't function like people. If you read, for as an example, in the Bible, you're talking about Jesus. He's doesn't act like a normal person. He acts like a son of a god.
Yeah.
He's not written like a character in a book that wants to tell you a compelling story. He's very distinctly a deity. He's not supposed to be a person. So that's how I do my handle my gods too. And the ones that you have the chance of meeting are the ones that cults are made around. You know, most people don't worship Zaphod Beeblebrox, which I am well aware is... I know exactly what that's from.
Really? Zaphod Beeblebrox is a god in your setting?
Oh, no. God, no. I just made up a name.
That would have been awesome.
It might be in a... I could throw him in with, like...
Now...
a group who wouldn't understand the reference, but I wouldn't throw him in a game with you because that would take away from...
because the result would be me laughing like I just did. If you
told me that
Zaphod Beeblebrox appeared before me, I'd have to skip out and smack the first head so I could talk to the second one.
Yeah, exactly. So I'm not putting Zaphod into my setting, but my point is that you could have, Zaphod Beeblebrox might be a god that someone worships, but it's not the majority of people. It is the minority by a huge margin.
Yeah. Which, in my setting, that would be taken up by your old ones, demon princes.
See, and in that case, it's not even like old ones. It is very much... It's more like your wanderer guy. Because, correct me if I'm wrong, he was the one who started off as a normal person and he became a god, right? Or did I miss?
No, he was one of the original gods.
Oh, right, he was an original god.
There are plenty
who do not know.
uh, mortals that have ascended to godhood, and that's where most of
Yeah.
my like racial or species specific gods come from. Is they were once a member of that species that was for some reason lifted to godhood.
Yeah, I've got something similar to that. Zaphod in this case he'd be like a god of probably a two-headed species. Let's be real. I'm not going to let a cultural reference go to waste like that. But Zaphod Beeblebrox would be, he's just a guy. He's really, really powerful. Bam, he gets to call himself God, basically.
Yeah.
And it's not even actually God. Usually, the people who get to call themselves gods, or who do call themselves gods, they're just people who are powerful. They've got like some kind of immortality going on, but it's not like they're really gods. They're just deifically powerful. It's
all just 20th
like
level monks that no longer
oh
age.
well. Well, the thing is that still isn't technically immortality, because rules as written is you don't live forever, you still die. But yes, along that principle of they live forever. And yes, also 20th level monks, because those guys are just too OP.
Yeah. No, the racial ones or species ones, like, for starters, it's always weird to me to try and figure out which way I'm supposed to say that, because D&D still calls them races, but that's really wrong because they're different species.
Yeah, I say species because it's more accurate, and
Yeah.
I treat it in my lore like species. You don't. It's a rare fetish for a bird person to want to fuck a cat person.
I would imagine.
Okay, and that's a particularly rare one, because cats eat birds.
Exactly.
But my point is that it's as weird and looked down upon. That's species, because they do treat each other like they're different species.
Which, I mean, it seems reasonable. I don't have a problem in my world, at least, with like the standard humanoid ones, your orcs, elves, dwarves, humans, halflings, even gnomes that are basically just variations on the same exact species, functioning a little bit differently, but like you said, the cat people tend to be cat people, and humans are weird to cat people because they're not cat people. And the bird people think the cat people and the humans are weird because they don't fly. Like, that kind of stuff, to me at least, is kind of built into those characters. It's not necessarily like points that they have problems with, so much as there's enough difference that they just kind of view it as way too weird to want to get into it.
See, in fact, right now I'm actually in the process of writing a novel. I am taking a very long time to go about writing it, but I'm in the process of writing a novel going into interspecies relationships, and how it works. The whole premise is like a cat person from a town at the border of 3 different major species regions. There's snake people nearby. There are lots of snake folk, lots of cat folk, and lots of I'm trying to remember, monkey people, and all in the same town, very strongly inhabited by all these three very different cultures. And so he he goes to college to try and be an ambassador to one of these countries because being um, being acquainted with someone else's culture really makes being an ambassador a lot easier. So, and as he decides, all right, anthropology is more my thing because this is a very not historically accurate medieval setting. And I feel like having a little more fun with it is a-okay. So he switches over to like anthropology, and he's going on a anyway. He starts going on a global trek, or not trek, a global trip to learn as much about other like interspecies relations to gather course material for the college for which he works. So like that's the premise there. So I thought that was pretty relevant to your whole the whole species race thing.
Like I said, I think all my notes refer to them as species now because it was bugging me that was a term being used incorrectly.
I can't remember. I can't remember which. I think one of the new systems started using species instead of. It might have been Pathfinder Second Edition started using species instead of race.
I mean,
it's really not that big of a distinction, but I do appreciate.
But it's more accurate, and it doesn't have the political baggage of the word race.
Yeah, when your abilities and whatnot are determined by your class and race, it carries some
political baggage. It gets real close to that not okay part. Like,
yeah, when in practicality it makes sense.
But it makes sense because they're not different in that way.
Because
they're different species.
Right.
Like,
exactly.
As a human being, I don't have claws, but
and a cat is inherently more agile than I am.
Exactly.
But that doesn't mean, so calling species and I choose.
Neither of them are necessarily lesser than any of the others. They're just different.
Yeah, so that's why I choose species and profession instead of class and race. Just because it takes away that, because a lawyer is going to be better at argumentation than a welder.
Yeah.
Just like a bard is going to have skills that a barbarian won't. So class and profession, I think, makes way better sense but carries zero baggage.
That comes down also to whether or not you view like the D&D standard classes as jobs or as suites of abilities. Because if they're suites of abilities, the word you're using doesn't matter because you're not treating them that way.
I generally assume that
as a profession, which to me makes a lot of sense for the way most of them are set up. Some of them it's a little weird, like I don't know that anyone would become a professional warlock.
Yeah, but, so
paladins, clerics, fighters, monks, druids, those all seem like reasonable professions in some way.
Yeah. I guess profession's not quite the right word, but I'm still trying to pick something. I mean, it's in my. I still think it's better than race and class.
Yeah, probably. out of that,
Uh,
is there any stuff you've written for one of the particular species that you think is particularly interesting?
um, so I think I've mentioned it. I'm pretty sure we mentioned it um, in the first DM chat, but I have currently none of the core, none of the Pathfinder core races, because that's what I typically run as Pathfinder. None of the Pathfinder core races are playable in my setting right now. That's mostly because I haven't fine tuned I haven't like really nailed down what the global, the hat basically for dwarves is. But for instance, I do not have any humans or normal elves in my setting. They are all elves are drow, and humans are basically the progenitor species, which my players don't know yet. And some of them might never know. So this might be the only time they ever find out about it.
That's assuming that they watch this episode and have stayed with us for 36 odd minutes to get there.
Yeah. It's a big assumption. They probably did.
They're like, nah, we listen to these two assholes talk way too much. I don't want to watch them talk online, too. But no, I think if I had to pick something like that, it would be the relationship between the Pythonians and the dwarves in my setting. Because the way I have them set up, their nations border each other. Even though the dwarves stereotypically, I guess I should say, are underground dwellers and like to dig into mountains, caves, that sort of thing. The nations technically border each other, and there used to be a lot of conflict along that border because the dwarves didn't practice very much magic and the Pythonians did. The Pythonians have classically been a slaver species where they would take slaves from other species. And so the dwarves were a popular target because they were essentially defenseless. This all changed with the War of
When
Mana.
the fire.
Well, it changed with the War of Mana and Iron, where a group of the Pythonians showed up and said, well, you and you're coming with us, and there's nothing you can do about it. And they said, no. And, being powerful mage knights that they were, got ready to just, fine, we'll just take you by force. And that's when the first bullet ever fired in anger ripped through the first one and kicked off one of the first major wars between those two nations. Because the dwarves' response to no magic, or not being particularly fond of magic, was to invent something to equalize themselves with the spellcasters. And that was firearms. And now they are the master craftsmen of the gunslingers. They make some cool stuff.
So, I actually have something surprisingly similar. However, neither species was particularly magically adept. The elves of my setting, the drow, who for the record are inherently incapable of performing magic. Like, it's just not within their scope of abilities. Yeah, I like to break the norm with my setting, like do specifically things that no one thinks you're gonna do, because I want that originality. Anyway, so those elves are they're the minor craftsmen of the set of the world. They replace this stereotypical dwarven role that Tolkien set in stone or set in place. They take that role and basically their nation also bordered the dwarves nation, and I can't remember what I called the dwarves nation offhand. I could check, but I don't feel like it, so whatever. Anyway, their nations bordered each other. The dwarves were kidnapped, or many of the dwarves were kidnapped, and there was a really cool thing in my setting. I think it's cool, at least, about how several species were created. Because I do have evolutions basically plotted out. I'm comfortable assuming my players aren't here, so they're not going to learn things that I don't want them to learn yet.
We currently have one person watching us, so probably not.
But I'm assuming they're not going to come back and watch this is really what I'm talking about.
I kind of assume that my players won't, too. They might.
I don't assume that they're going to do it out of respect. I think they're going to be like, Kian, I don't care. I do not care about your YouTube channel.
Either that,
and I care,
or, like I said,
I wear them. I don't care. Either.
They'll be like, I listen to that asshole enough. I don't want to listen to him talk more.
And that is probably the exact words they're using to think.
Fair enough.
Anyway, so basically, right, humans, and then something happens. I haven't decided what happened yet. It's not important yet until there's a campaign that says it's important. It's not important. They don't exist. They evolved into a lot of different species through different manners. Some of it through natural evolution, some of it through magical evolution. Basically, they made themselves into a wide array of species that are all of them, and some of them, like the elves, don't do magic. Some of them do, and some of them were short. And some of them that were short, those were the dwarves. And those specific dwarves, as they were when they were kidnapped, no longer exist. They evolved in one of three ways. Either they hid and they started sneaking around, or one of four ways. My mistake. If they were kidnapped and made into slaves, over generations of hard labor, they became the stocky, strong dwarves that we know and love today. If they managed to hide away and live in their mountainous home where they used to live, where they were kidnapped from, they evolved into the halflings, the hobbits, tricksy little hobbitses, who managed to hide from kidnap and slavery, and some of those hobbits, or halflings, or whatever you want to call them, because screw you can copyright a word, but that doesn't mean I'm going to stop using it. Some of those hobbits moved, like they just left, they fled, and they ended up on an island that forcefully evolved them, shall we say, into the gnomes. And those are an extremely rare, very specialized species. Basically exactly what you see out of the Pathfinder and the 5e handbooks. And then the last species are the ones who were kidnapped, they were enslaved, but they decided they were just going to keep digging straight down, and they'd hide away deep down, and they became I think they're called the Svirfneblin, but I can't remember offhand. The deep dwarves.
They're the deep dwarves.
Or the Dwagar. The Svirfneblin are the like the under hobbits, I guess.
Yeah. I
Oh,
know
I
what
did
you mean.
not. Yeah, I didn't create a spot in my setting for them. Well, now I'm glad I screwed up the word, and I'm gonna go add them somewhere.
See, and I have some of those species, especially from like later released books for D&D at least. I have thrown them into the outer planes as where they technically come from. They may be on the prime material for a player to take part in a campaign setting, whatever, but the actual like species belongs to one of the outer planes because it gave me an awful lot more places that I could put things. Like I think, I forget what they're called. They're one of the types of human-animal hybrids from one of the later books. Starts with an S, I think.
What are they? Combination between?
They're literally human. They look like humans, but they have animalistic traits, similar to like a werewolf, but without the full transformations. But like how the werewolf has the enhanced senses and speed. I think they get speed in fifth edition. I don't know,
I think they do too.
but similar to
Oh,
that.
you mean like not even just like half man, half bird
No,
kind of
they're
thing? Like
literally a humanoid that
I
looks
have no idea what you're talking
very
about then.
similar to humans. I'm sure I could Google it and tell you in like 30 seconds, but it's not important for this. They originate from the Beastlands, which is one of the outer planes. So if a player wanted to play them, somehow that character, either their parents, they themselves, somehow got to the prime material, which is where most adventures take
It's
place.
the main. It's the
Yeah.
adventuring the place.
You can go to the other places, but unless I have set up something very specific, I'm usually not going to run in one of the outer planes, even if that's where the species is particularly from, just purely because it's way too much work to build not just one world, but like 15, to use all the outer planes as much as I want to. One world is enough. If I need the outer planes, I will build them as I need them. Not
And you will
all
build the
at once.
parts that you need, I'm guessing.
Yes. Like my basic world, I have pretty well a good understanding of how the politics is functioning, where the different nations are in comparison to each other, that kind of thing. But I don't want to have to do that 15 more times for all of these other worlds. And while I know there is stuff out there for them, I very often dislike what I find in prepackaged stuff. For no other reason than I don't like the baggage that it necessarily comes with. Because, like,
Yeah, no, I get that.
yeah. And that's, you know, my own personal preference. I like my world. I have a significant amount of experience at this point creating worlds since I've done it since I was like 4. Coming up with the concepts for these places, some of which I should steal from some of my older stuff to put in my current, actually really fleshed out world, because some of it was really good and a lot of it was crap. That's what happens when you were 12 when you started writing this stuff. Is you look at it now and you go, that's cool. I should keep that. I don't know what the rest of this crap is or why I ever thought this was a good idea.
But that's cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, no. I get that a lot with some of my I do not write books at all because I don't think I'm good at writing them. But I do come up with story ideas and I think I'd like to write books about them.
enough.
And half the time I'll think back on a story idea that I thought was just the coolest thing, and I'll question myself, say, Kian, what the hell were you thinking?
Yeah.
That is just not. That is bad.
Well, and some of it I'll look back on and be like, I was just like blatantly ripping this off. Like not even hiding the fact that I was ripping this off. Which, by all means, when you're world building, just steal indiscriminately. Oh my gosh.
Oh.
We have someone else joining us. Let me
Yeah, but
add,
I wasn't looking. I'm still not looking.
It's okay. Hang on. I gotta move some names around so that this again makes sense.
I can see a face on my screen. That hasn't happened before.
Yeah,
Carter.
you can see a face on your screen.
Hey.
Yeah. A lot of times when we do the GM chat one, we use the face cams. If you don't have a face cam, you're like Kian, and you end up being, in your case, a lion. He's a orchid, I think. I think it's an orchid.
Yeah,
It
Black
looks like an orchid.
It's the Black Lotus from an early Magic the Gathering card.
Nice.
Yeah.
I know Parker is in
Hello.
theory going to join us later, and when he does, I will probably have to change where the name burns are again.
That's
That's
okay.
fine.
Giving Joey things to do, busy work as we call it, is honestly the best pastime out there anyway.
Shut your face. I have forgotten what we were talking about, though, before I had to change all that.
Sorry.
It's
Don't
fine.
worry about it.
I think we were talking about crappy ideas that we used to have while
Yep.
we were writing stuff when we were significantly
Younger
younger
than
than we are now. Back
I
when we
wasn't
were-
even significant. I was
well, I was
years ago.
significantly younger. Because for me, I'm talking, 10 plus years ago for some of these story ideas that I will still find in like old notebooks and go, the fuck? Why?
I don't know if I don't think I can relate to that as much. I'd have to you'd have to give me like 15 minutes to rummage through the absolute catastrophe that is my brain to find my ideas.
That's fine. I have for years stopped storing ideas in my brain and used voice recorders and notebooks because trying to go through the warped and twisted paths of my mind to refine an idea is a terrifying prospect.
All right. Okay. I take it back. I got one thing here in the notes of my phone. I don't think it's a
Always a good
bad
start.
idea, and it wasn't made that long ago, but it's something. It's a D&D bard idea. I've never played a bard before. This guy's going to summon a ghost orchestra, apparently.
All right. I like it.
honestly kind of cool.
I also have
To be
3 different account passwords here.
Probably
And
best
a-
if you don't do those while we're live on the internet.
I'm
Don't
not
tell
doing
us.
that. Oh, here we go. A dark joke. Murder is like sex. You always remember your first.
I got nothing. Like,
That was good. That made me chuckle.
I don't have a response to that. It was just so unexpected in this context. I
I'm
legitimately
not
don't
complaining
have
about it though.
like a lot of stuff I had like, you know, we're talking about story ideas. I can go with this. That was not expected. I really got nothing for that.
Hey, you wanted to see? Hey, you were talking about stuff that you wrote down a while ago, and you wanted to recollect.
You're not wrong, because that's what we were talking about when you were joining us.
So that joke is on
you. The best
you.
part is, if Parker joins when he thinks he's going to, in about 10 to 15 minutes, this kind of thing is going to happen again because we're all going to forget what we're talking about when we say hi to him.
That's a fact.
Yeah.
We're all going to reset to
Probably.
0. But no.
What other ideas did I have? Well, I can tell you it's not an idea I had, but it's an idea that Ethan had that actually went to fruition. He made a Dragon Rider character
All right.
that died before he could get his dragon.
Excellent.
First
Excellent.
session.
Yep, sounds about right.
That it was so disappointing. There was the amount of disappointment you saw on his face. And I've known the guy since kindergarten. I had never seen him that disappointed before.
Just reminds me of the thing I saw where it was, you know, the dragon breathes its fire breath on you. DM rolls for damage. All right, I need you to roll 4d6. All right. Now I need you to do that again. All right. One more time. Wait. Am I rolling a new character? Yeah. Yeah, you are.
You didn't even wait for him to die before you started making him roll one.
I mean, to be fair, I have had some games where I've rolled the damage, I've looked at the players, looked at the damage on the dice, and gone, so what's your new character going to be? Why? Because you didn't survive.
I very much enjoy the answer to that question, which I'm sure we've all heard. The answer.
This character.
This guy. Yep, this character Junior, here to avenge my father and complete his
My name
unfinished
is
business.
James the Third. What happened to the first two? Well, my father was roasted attempting to avenge his father against the same dragon. So what? I'm
what's
not
your
going to
purpose in
fight
life?
dragons. I have decided to fight kobolds. Because they're like dragons, but killable.
Maybe if you kill enough kobolds one day, you'll be able to actually kill a dragon.
Perhaps. I don't know why I
Perhaps.
decided that's what Bartholomew talks like. It sounds like a Bartholomew voice, though.
You said Bartholomew, and I agree very, very strongly with that voice.
I know. I don't know why it just sounds like a Bartholomew voice.
Favorite character name, honestly, ever was Barf from Spaceballs, just because at the end revealed his name is Bartholomew, and that just that little the first time I heard that joke, I honest to God laughed harder at that than the entire rest of the movie.
Dude, the only things I remember from that movie are Pizza the Hut and like dick choking. That's it.
Oh, there was a lot of dick jokes.
I liked combing the desert.
That was a fun one. That was a good one.
I only saw that once, and it was like when I was, what, 8? Never saw it
You
again.
should watch it again because it's good.
It is funny. It's
Uh,
well, honestly, what you should watch is all of that guy's movies, because Mel Brooks is a comedy.
But especially Spaceballs, because it is really good.
Fair warning, they don't all age well.
No.
What?
They were very much comedy for the time that they came out, and
Which
some
was?
of it does not age well.
What time did
80s
it
and
come out?
Yeah, it would have
like
been
80s and 90s.
It would have been primarily
So-
80s and 90s.
There was a
Oh,
good number.
Lord.
So, for instance, there's one I love it. I think it's hilarious, but also I totally understand if you hate it. Shoot, it's the one with the joke that I accidentally said at camp in a very bad situation when we were doing the Old West. It's the Old West, Blazing Saddles. It's got
Yeah.
it's got quite a bit of racy stuff going on. Quite a bit.
Yeah.
And it would be wise to go into it expecting
Yeah.
a lot of offensive stuff
The
to
more
happen.
surprising thing to me is that has been aired on TV a lot, unedited, and it was only within the last 3 years that they started putting a warning with it because of all that stuff. But for some
Yeah.
reason, up until 2-3 years ago, no, that's all fine. We don't need
Because
to
no
warn
one paid
anybody about
attention to
that.
it.
Oh, you'd have paid attention to this. Unaired on normal TV? Yeah. Because it's the kind of stuff you don't get to say on normal TV.
It's a lot of stuff that you honestly, I'd be surprised.
It's a lot of stuff that, outside of specific cable channels, you probably won't see.
It's a
Specific cable
The-
channels. What are we talking about specific?
Movie channels. Not
Okay.
not the adult kind, the regular kind.
Okay.
But
You have me
Oh.
worried.
now,
it's also specific cable channels because the unedited version of the movie is legally unairable on public television because of the kind of language that they use.
I can't believe I watched this when I was 8.
I'm talking
That's
about
why I
a
don't
diff-
remember it because all the jokes went over my head.
Oh, wait. We're talking about a different one now. We're talking about Blazing Saddles.
yeah. No.
Oh.
Spaceballs, I think you could
Spaceballs.
air mostly unedited. There's a few times where they say ass and shit and that kind of stuff.
Now you can say those
But-
two on.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've never seen this Blazing Saddles then.
No, probably not.
What is it? So it's a Western, right?
It is a western. It's more a riff on westerns than an
It's
actual
a spaghetti
western.
western. It's not
Oh.
intended to be taken seriously in any way, shape, or form. It's purely designed for comedy. But it is one of the ones that didn't necessarily age the best. Just
No, it aged very not good.
because most of
Young
those
Frank-
jokes are not okay anymore.
Young Frankenstein, that is still fantastic though.
I mean, Spaceballs is
Still-
fine.
Yeah.
Pretty sure Robin Hood Men in Tights is pretty much okay.
Yeah, there's an excellent circumcision joke in that movie.
Yes, there is.
I don't remember it very well enough to recite it, and I'm not gonna recite it anyway. But man, it's funny.
Now, as a kid, I was super sheltered, so I didn't watch a lot of movies. My mom tried to throw all the guns away from my action figures when I was 4.
Ooh.
Yeah, my dad luckily saved them all, but that was kind of traumatic. Probably why I don't trust her as much as my dad.
Yeah, that
That's a can of worms that
tracks.
maybe I don't think is open on here.
But yeah,
Unless it's not as much of a can of worms as I expect it to be.
I don't really care. It was long ago. I'm over it.
Okie dokie.
But yeah, I was super sheltered, so I didn't watch a lot of really good movies. Like I didn't watch Forrest Gump until my sophomore year of high school.
nothing wrong with that.
Still haven't seen it, honestly. Big, something I know I should be ashamed of. I have not.
You should.
It is really
I
good.
know.
It
I know.
is
I've
one of
heard.
the few movies that has actually made me cry.
I know that there are a lot of really excellent movies out there that I need to see more of. That being one of them, Rain Man
No, movies are a
being an.
great place to steal crap from for when you're writing D&D or well, really any RPG stuff. Especially if they're movies that you know your players haven't seen.
Yeah.
Now,
If you're.
obviously, some of the comedy ones, unless you're running something that's more of a slapstick style of game, stay away from. But you can steal an awful lot from movies, especially like obscure fantasy and science fiction. Because
Yeah.
watch them.
Yeah. The older it is, especially with science fiction and fantasy,
Yeah.
the better it is to steal from because usually those are really, really good concept at the very least.
Also, if
Um,
it's foreign,
Ah,
I
yeah,
don't know why, but for whatever reason, I've noticed this. The same folks who kind of fit into this box either really like or really don't like foreign films. So if you find foreign sci-fi or fantasy films, there's a good chance your players won't have seen it.
I haven't watched a
well,
lot of foreign movies, so I would probably fit into that category.
Yeah, I've
um,
watched some, but usually they're in the genres that I listed.
I
yeah,
think the one I can remember, the one foreign movie I can remember was on Netflix. It was, oh man, it was years ago. It was when we first got Netflix. It was a horror movie about a killer crocodile, and it was all in Japanese with subtitles. I didn't understand a fucking thing about the plot. I just wanted to see an alligator kill people.
Fair enough.
that's
Uh,
fair. Yeah,
last one
I can respect that.
I watched I think was called uh, Norman Jaunt. I
Norman John.
It's a Scandinavian film named after the world serpent. I
Oh,
terrible
Oh,
at
Jormungand.
pronunciation. Yeah,
was it bad?
actually, it was pretty decent. It was kind of horror, not really horror, but more like a suspense horror because you never really saw the monster, but it was there, and it occasionally like did something. And of course, it was like a giant sea serpent monster. It was honestly a pretty good movie, even if you had to read all of it because there was no like English dub. It was all in Scandinavian.
Huh.
Um, I
Yeah,
like to
pretty good.
pull. I have not watched many older, or I'm sorry, many foreign films, but I have seen a good number of uh, older movies. I really like old movies. I think they had excellent cinema. So I will pull in the future. Moving forward, I will write um a, a classic Planet of the Apes inspired game, and I will write like I'm not talking the new one. I don't know anything about the new movies. I just know the original Planet of the Apes. is an
Classics.
excellent.
Planet of the Apes.
Like
I
this,
never saw the classic Planet of the Apes. I've only seen
So-
2 of the new ones,
They're really good,
and they were good.
but they're really cheesy by today's standards.
Oh, they're
Yeah,
super,
I got that from the
They're
clips I've
so
seen.
good.
but the writing in it is so
Like they're
so
really
good.
well written. They're really well done. It's just looking back on it, a lot of the acting is really cheesy. All the props are really cheesy. But part
Well,
of that
even
is
some
the
of the-
time period that it's made in. That was what movie.
Which was like the 70s. Yeah, the 70s.
It was from the 70s, but
Yeah.
a lot of the acting wasn't even that cheesy. It was like most of the acting was pretty good. At the very least, it was par,
Yeah.
and at the best, it was legitimately phenomenal acting.
Some of it was really good because some of the characters did a really good job of portraying what
Yeah.
they were.
I kind of want to see it now that you're talking about it.
very
It's
much
Is it on
pretty
Netflix?
good.
It
Is
is
it
not.
still on Netflix?
It is
It's
not.
been
I
on for a
checked.
while.
You can find it on, I think, Amazon Prime or on Hulu, but both of them you have to pay specifically to watch it.
Oh, that fucking sucks, man.
Yeah. Or no, I think it's just on Amazon Prime, but unless I'm mistaken, you do have to pay to watch
Or
it.
you talk to somebody who owns all of it on DVD.
Yeah, I
Mhm.
don't know any of those people.
Yes,
Well,
you
except
do.
for you,
One.
Yeah, I don't know where you live though, so I couldn't exactly go to your house.
That's not a big deal. If you really want to, we'll talk afterwards, and we'll figure something out so I can lend you some movies.
You might also consider going to your public library. That's where I
Actually,
got my
yeah.
hands on.
They may have a collection of them.
That's a good idea, but I'm already renting Game of Thrones there, and I've already renewed it once, so
That's fine.
fair. So
That's
I'm-
fair.
I'm
Finish
watching it with my parents.
finish
and
that, and
there's
then
nothing more-
Planet of the Apes.
Yeah,
I would
I-
not Planet
I-
or
No,
Game of Thrones with my no. That's
You wouldn't?
not a show I would feel comfortable watching with them.
some parts get awkward.
Parts
But-
of it I
yeah,
fine, but parts of it I would not. I'd just like, nope, I'm out. That's a nice wall over there. I'm gonna go look at that wall.
Well, there's the scene like the I don't even think I should probably talk about this scene.
probably not.
Yeah,
At least
yeah,
it's not any
it's-
of the ones that popped into mind when you said the scene, and we're talking about it being awkward with your parents. If it's any of those that I can think of, no, probably shouldn't talk about it on here.
yeah.
But-
I've only skipped past one scene so far, and that was because it is genuinely painful to watch for me, even on my own.
Fair. I've experienced those in plenty of movies where it's just like, this is just no.
Yeah, no.
One of my go-to every time I think of like something that was supposed to be one way or was not supposed to be one way, and it was definitely not that good way, which I know is a very obtuse way of saying it. Fight me.
I
Oh,
don't
thanks.
that kind of time.
Yeah,
Or
you'd probably
fair.
win. I'm pretty skinny.
That is very fair, and I'm very fat, so. Anyway, no, one of those scenes that comes to mind for me is from Blade Runner, the original, not 20 whatever it is, 2049. I haven't seen that
it.
one. Just Harrison Ford's Blade Runner from 1981. Excellent movie, high concept, really, really well done. Had a pretty cool adventure game based on, like point and click adventure game based on it too. I think, but there was a scene that was supposed to be, I think it was supposed to be romantic, but the writers, I think, accidentally wrote it as a rape. Like I watched it, and I was like,
Yeah.
that's rape right there. But it was played off like, hey, I think this is sex. This is probably hot. I think this is gonna look good on screen. It didn't look good on screen.
No.
Yeah.
That's why if you're going to go down that road, you actually hire romance authors to write those scenes.
Yeah.
Otherwise, it just comes out a mess.
Or at the
Yeah,
very
like-
least, you run it by someone to say, "Hey, is this a little rapey?"
Hey, does this look
'Cause-
wrong? Watch this and see if there's something that doesn't seem right about it.
And the guy looks, he's like, everything is wrong.
Exactly.
Honestly, the actors should have said, "Hey, I felt like I was like Harrison Ford should have known." Like,
Yeah.
director, I felt really wrong saying that. Can we change
Wait,
that?
Harrison
please?
Ford is on the receiving end of this?
Oh no, he's on the doing end.
Oh.
I know that his roles do that a lot, but I'm saying at some point he should have just said, "Guys, listen, you gotta stop doing this to me. It makes me look bad."
I really don't want to come across as a creep in everything that I'm in. Which,
Isn't he a pothead too?
probably
I don't
heard
know.
rumors about
most
that.
of everyone in that era was. Like, it's Hollywood, and that era in particular, from the 60s through the 80s. I mean, it still is, but it's no longer just like weed and LSD.
Yeah, now it's not just pot.
I mean,
It wasn't just
it wasn't just pot then either. There was definitely some LSD involved, but yeah, it's gotten worse. And some of the movies that have come out of it have been equally worse.
Maybe that's a sign. Maybe Hollywood's dead. We should just let it die.
Probably.
now. There are a couple good things.
That's an entirely
Chris
different
Nolan.
thing. So, I'm trying to wait until Parker gets here for doing the next big one that I know me and Kian talked about wanting to talk about for this. But it's a really good tie-in, so I'm going to start it kind of now. And hopefully he doesn't hop in the middle of me explaining this. Because it's a jump between movies and world-building stuff.
Go ahead, man.
Video game movies.
Oh no.
Now, it has been done well, and it has been done really badly. Usually really badly.
Mostly badly.
Yeah. There's only 2 or 3 I can think of that are actually done well. And
I can only think of one that was done well, and I don't even like that movie.
And most of the ones I can think of, they were done well because they didn't try to do the video game. They tried to do something in the video game world. And they told an entirely different story in the video game universe using what was established in that lore already. Rather than try and co-opt it into something that it shouldn't be. Which
Can't think of any like that. Which examples are you thinking of?
the Assassin's Creed movie. The good one.
Haven't seen it.
Not the one that is based off of all of the actual video games. There's one that's just it's Assassin's Creed. That's the name of the movie. It's really well done. They had their own animus. They made their own assassins. They made their own everything to sit alongside the established lore of all of the Assassin's Creed games, rather than try and rewrite it or write something else instead of it. Which is what a lot
Good
of...
rule of thumb.
Yeah. It's a lot of what video game movies do, is they try and rewrite established lore for worlds that people already love.
And in some cases, it actually, like more the first Mortal Kombat movie, inspired the video games.
Let's be fair. The first Mortal Kombat movie did a really good job of adapting over the video game. There was no plot. It was
Nope.
just a bunch of dudes beating the crap out of each other
Well,
Yep.
there
for
wasn't
like
a lot of
90
blood.
minutes.
And it worked.
Like that's
Just an
what it
endless
was.
theme song.
And from
Yeah,
what I
it did
understand,
great things.
the new Mortal Kombat movie is basically the same thing. They kind of took the plot from the newer Mortal Kombat games and just said, here it is. This is what you guys wanted. It's a movie about a bunch of dudes beating the crap out of each other for about an hour and a half
What's not to love?
with small bits of lore. Yep. That's what you got.
And that's always
Does it have good fight scenes? Because that's all we're here for.
I haven't watched it yet, but the effects
Nor have
look really good. Like they did a really good job porting over like Sub-Zero, and they didn't show a lot of the other characters. They showed Sub-Zero using his ice blades, and apart from that, I'm spacing on his name. It's the cop with the robo arms.
Yeah.
RoboCop.
Robo arms. No. RoboCop is in at least one of the versions of Mortal
Okay.
Kombat. But
I think
The
it's
newest
Mortal
one.
Kombat
He's a guest character.
yeah.
Along with Terminator, Spawn, the Joker, and a lot of others.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I-
There's
I
tons of
was
people
just
that
making-
have been in Mortal Kombat at one point.
Which is amazing because they're like the best characters to play as.
Yeah. It's like Marvel versus Capcom. It just has tons of characters that get thrown into it. But it was kind of leading into how we were talking about different types of settings and what makes them work and what doesn't. Those movies, the ones that kind of flopped because they weren't paying attention to what those settings were supposed to be. Because, like,
or it's because we're Mario.
Let's not talk about that, please.
yeah, that's its own category somewhere over there. Way over there. But no, like, Resident Evil became action movies. They shouldn't have been action movies. They're just
Never.
action
Should
movies.
never have
when
been.
you look at them as action movies, but they should have been horror survival type movies.
Yeah.
Because that's what the games are.
Yeah.
Until like
Yeah.
Resident Evil 5 when it became action adventure.
Yeah. But
But then they
never
fixed it
really,
in 7.
yeah, they never really went that route with the movies. They never followed along those characters. Which I don't care that they didn't particularly follow those characters. Because honestly, I think they shouldn't. When they make movies like that, they should make their own characters. Like, I would love to watch a Doom movie that didn't follow Doom Guy, but took place during the events
Of them.
of Doom.
That is both of them for the record, and they are both terrible.
Except neither of those are actually Doom.
Yeah.
Okay, touche.
Neither of them
Well,
have
one
Doom
of
Guy.
They're really good action movies again. Well, okay. They're kind of cheesy action movies.
No, they're more than kind of cheesy. They're bad action movies.
They're not Doom. The
They
G.I.
are
Joe
right.
movies aren't G.I. Joe, but they're not bad movies in and of themselves. They just...
But they're bad G.I. Joe movies.
Exactly. They're missing part of what makes that a complete package. And I think that's where a lot of those things suffer.
I actually disagree with you on the Doom count. I don't think Doom could be made into a good movie because it was the reason Doom works is because it is a horror sort of situation, but it is turned into comedy / power fantasy. If it were anyone else, it would have to be horror and it wouldn't work. It would flop because then you lose Doom.
Because Doom Guy's
It is-
OP as fuck.
Yes. And if you follow someone else, you're not getting the OP. You're not getting the power fantasy, and it is horror. And Doom horror, well, they tried that with Doom 3, and it was not
It was
that.
good.
Well,
It was
It
a
was
good
good,
game.
but it wasn't Doom.
I think
game.
what they'd have to do is something like they did with Halo. I think it's Forward Unto Dawn, the movie.
I've heard of that. I heard it was good. Haven't
Actually,
seen
pretty
it.
good.
Probably haven't seen it. Probably won't ever see it, though.
It is pretty good. But the main characters of Halo are, of course, the Spartans.
Yeah.
They're only in that movie for like 5 minutes. The rest of it
Yeah.
is the individual.
Oh, no, that movie. I thought you were
dealing
talking about
with-
something.
They're dealing with the events of an invasion, but they themselves are not the ones able to repel it. And I think you'd have to do
Yeah.
something like that for Doom as well. You'd have to have the scientists of Mars or whatever,
The Marines that were
Yeah.
stationed by the
the
complex.
guys that were running Terrified, and make a good horror movie, basically, that is eventually
And then
solved
Doom Guy shows up
by-
and saves the day.
Yeah, is eventually solved by Doom Guy.
Well, there's another problem I have with that, though, is that what makes Doom good is that the story is completely taking a backseat. And
Pretty much.
if you want to follow the ARC, or no, the UAC or whoever, you're gonna have to answer some questions that the game's deliberately left unanswered. How did it happen? Doesn't matter. Nobody cares. You're here to kill demons. But when you're the scientist who made it happen, it matters. You have to answer that question. And I think that also is going to be an issue. You're going to once again lose it. But this is a very specific
But
instance,
it
and I'm
is,
just nitpicking.
and I think
example.
there's ways around that, because like Carter said, you could use the Marines that were there instead. The Marines have no idea what started it.
Actually,
They
They
yeah.
eventually become
Demons.
demons themselves. They eventually become
have
demons
idea
themselves,
what's
stuff
going
like-
on.
Actually, that made me think of it would be a pretty cool movie.
So
If so, there was just some throwaway lines from Doom Eternal about holdouts during the events of Doom Eternal, and it
exactly.
would
Oh,
make
yeah.
a decently interesting movie to show like some Marines trying to. It wouldn't be a great Doom movie, but it'd be a decent movie itself to show, building up those strongholds of humanity's
Yeah.
last survivor.
And
Also, I know this is kind of off topic, but not really, but I have a bone to pick.
most of the show is off topic.
The Ancient Gods. They ended the arc off of a DLC. My disappointment is immeasurable.
Is your day ruined?
Was when I finished the DLC, I was like depressed for the entire rest of the day because I realized, holy shit, I'm not getting a Doom 3 made by id Software. And
We already
I
got
was
that.
like,
It wasn't good.
huh?
I said we already got Doom 3. It wasn't that good. They're
Yeah.
stopping while they're stopping while they're ahead because they know if they make Doom 3 the second time, it's gonna flop again and they're just gonna lose everything.
I know, but it was just the ending was just so it put way too much emphasis on the story in the DLC. There was so much going on. It was coming at you so fucking fast that you couldn't keep up with it because you're not used to it when you're playing Doom.
No,
You're used to the
that's not a
visual
Doom.
storytelling.
Yeah, that's not a Doom thing. Like, you don't get told a story during Doom.
Yeah, you piece it together from what you see.
And you piece together kind of what you want of what you see.
Exactly. But when you're told that, you're like, this isn't what I expected. And now I'm
Yeah.
disappointed.
Yeah.
That's why I like the first the Doom 2016 a bit better than Doom Eternal was because there wasn't like, oh, what's the word? I wasn't being pandered to.
Yeah, I was gonna say there was less hand-holding when it came to the story.
Yeah, they're just, hey, you got out of the sarcophagus. This guy's trying to tell you what to do, and Doom Guy ignores him and goes on a killing spree instead.
I think, to be fair, if I woke up naked in a sarcophagus, surrounded by demons, killing spree seems fairly reasonable. Like, I don't know what happened to get in that situation, but I doubt I liked it.
And he didn't like it.
Like, it seems perfectly reasonable to me that your response should be, I see demons, so what? Death to demons. Why? I guess they put me in a box. I don't know.
And another thing is, in Doom 2016, everything was so grounded in like reality, for lack of a better word. Like whenever you picked up a weapon, it would give you like an animation of you grabbing the weapon. In Doom Eternal, it was just like a
Yeah,
pop-up.
I didn't mind
It
that
was
at
just a
all. Mind the
rotating pop-up.
change at all because it felt like playing classic Doom to me.
Yeah.
I did not mind and the way they handled any of it because it just felt like the health pickups and the armor pickups. It looked like classic Doom, so I did not mind.
And in Doom Eternal, they kind of went more classical with it, kind of a little bit more cartoony. Not really my preference, but I could get past it because it was still fun as hell.
Yeah.
But I liked like the sort of grounded part of it. I liked seeing him pick up the weapon, look over it, rip it out of the hands of some dead Marine.
Yeah, that's cool. Go ahead.
Yeah, it was like it felt real. The immersion of it just it was just
it was more
so
immersive.
satisfying.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because you felt more like Doom Guy when you saw your hands go forward and pick something up.
Yeah. Instead of just walking over a pickup and suddenly it's in your hands and you have no idea how it got in your hands.
Yeah.
See, when I go for immersion, I'm usually going to go towards like...
Uh-oh. Something crashed.
BioShock or one of the games that calls itself an immersive sim, like
Metro.
Metro. Yeah, or Metro. I'm not gonna go for, or a lot of RPGs, but I'm not gonna go for Doom. For Doom, I do not care about immersion. It is all about guts and glory.
I don't know. I just didn't think the cartoony style kind of fit Doom. I liked the dark. It was way too well lit in Doom Eternal for my taste. I liked, like, when you were in hell, it was dark. There was brimstone. There was ash in the air.
Sorry, I'm fixing the.
Well, at least all agree. Sorry.
Oh, shit. Sorry, man.
Yeah. No, it like straight up crashed everything. I don't know what was going on. Like, it went and just started showing like regular Discord, not us. I am no longer got a picture. Let's see if I can fix that. Of course, now that moved me on the stream again. So let's move this back into place.
Well, while you're fixing that, I can at least say, at least we all agree that Duke Nukem Forever was ass.
Never played it, and I don't think ever will.
I have not thought about that game in so long.
You're probably happy that you didn't think about that game.
I mean, it's a good laugh. but it's not a great game.
No.
What was so bad about it? I didn't even play the original Duke Nukem.
It was really just very, very crass. The animations weren't great. The gameplay was meh.
Gameplay was boring.
Yeah.
And it missed the point. Duke Nukem was an action hero, and they changed him from being an action hero to the horniest dog on the planet, and that's what motivated him.
Why?
Okay.
Like, yeah, it straight up made no sense.
I know you could piss in that game. That's like the only thing I know about it.
Like I said, most of that game didn't make sense. I don't know why
Yeah.
my camera's now not working. Wonderful.
Have you guys, speaking of like the id Software games, have you guys played the Wolfenstein games?
Yeah.
The newer ones? Oh my
Actually,
God. They were so good, and then they got to the newest one, and it was so bad. I wanted
Can't
to
relate.
throw up.
I would say I haven't played the newest one, the New Blood or whatever it is.
Don't do it. It will. Oh God,
I
it
mean,
like
I already
almost
own
ruined the entire series.
I already own it, so I probably will at some point.
Ugh.
Because at one point I got all of the, like, Duke Nuke, or not Duke Nukem, all of the Wolf and like a pack. Okay.
Background of my room.
Hey, we're back. Or at least this
Unless
I
one
didn't go
has
anywhere.
hit YouTube, and YouTube is caught up.
Awesome.
So we are officially back.
That's a good.
Sorry about that to the couple of folks who are currently watching. We
Are
had
there a
some
couple folks watching?
significant technical
Well, there
difficulties there.
For hot zero.
Don't
Hmm.
actually know what happened, other than my broadcast software completely crashed.
Yo, no way.
So,
Yo, no
Sorry about
way.
that.
Is there a Stranger Things season 4 trailer? Oh!
Still haven't seen it.
we are now joined
I
by
recommend it
Parker,
highly.
who joined in the wonderful technical difficulties section.
In the
Imagine if, like, your YouTube just crapped out, but we were still streaming the entire time.
Well, I mean, my broadcast software on my computer crashed. Like, there was nothing...
So it's not likely, but...
No. There's absolutely no way, because YouTube was pulling from XSplit, and XSplit crashed. It turned itself off. There was no XSplit. Like, it died. I had to reload the presentation to get back to this point. It was bad.
You have to take out that defibrillator.
Basically.
Mm.
And in order to get it to work right, I had to exit myself out of Discord. It's a pain.
Oh, Table and Tops is currently streaming. Yeah, we've undergone a name change and basically a whole rebranding. Because...
Yeah.
and we look a whole lot better for it now.
And, Parker, next time you stream, make sure you go through beforehand and change all the updated information, because it didn't let me stream to our old information.
What do you mean?
Like, the Marauders stuff doesn't work.
Oh, right.
So if you have that still set as the place to stream to, it's going to tell you to get fucked.
Nice.
Because that's what it told me.
Because tonight we talk about types of settings and more. Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
That's happening right now, currently,
That's
actively.
what we were getting to. Right about the time you were joining up, we were talking about video games and moving slowly towards settings.
I've made a few of those.
Because...
Oh yeah, you need to send me the fully updated version of Burrito Blast. By the way,
You don't want to. It's not good.
I don't care. I want it.
I mean, you could play it if you want.
Yeah.
It's just hot garbage.
That's what Parker does in his real job.
It's not a job,
Well,
it's school.
School.
Actually, I don't know
Most
if you
of us
guys
do
heard
nothing with
this.
for our real lives.
Oh yeah, for most of us, it's just a hobby, and that's totally fine.
Yeah.
But I got an internship over the summer. I'm working for this wonderful game designer named Christopher Gray, who is partnered with Gallant Knight Games, and he's working on producing an RPG, a TTRPG called Highcaster, which seems pretty cool.
Why does that name sound
Sweet,
familiar?
man.
They produce a lot of really small indie games. Like, have you heard of the Tiny D6 games?
Maybe that's what I know him from. Because those I am
It's possible.
familiar with. I don't have any of them, but I am familiar with them.
Right. But yeah, I'm helping him make his game, which will be kickstarting at some point. I don't know.
Cool.
I don't know if
Speaking
I'm
of
supposed to
jobs,
say that. I should probably shut up.
We
So.
should probably launch into the actual thing that I said in the description. That
But
we
Carter
were
was going to
talking
say
about.
something real quick. Carter, what were you saying?
Speaking of jobs, my job's not nearly as interesting as game design, but I have a job as a welder now, so
You actually have
Maybe.
like an official job now?
it's gonna start at when my semester's over.
Nice.
Nice. Then maybe you can actually afford to buy the player's handbook instead of just mooching off of mine. When we
Maybe.
inevitably play Curse of Strahd,
But
which I cannot wait to run. Anyway, so types of worlds.
that's
What does that
actually-
mean? What are we talking about?
We're talking about like setting styles. Like,
Yeah,
are we talking
like
cyberpunk
you mentioned,
or fantasy?
like you mentioned Curse of Strahd, which is what would be considered grimdark, typically.
Grim fantasy, dark fantasy, that type
Yeah.
of shit. Yeah,
The
I like
best kind.
the just traditional swords and sorcery type stuff myself, but if you hear a train, my bad.
That's kind of what
I
I
can
wanted
hear it
to
all the
talk
way from my
about,
place.
and the benefits of using established stuff versus rolling your own. I've already made it clear towards the beginning of this that I prefer to roll my own.
Oh, it's so much better.
It
However,
has,
so much harder.
It's significantly harder, which is the biggest downside, but you have full creative control over what your world is like, which is the part I like about it.
Touche.
And I just like world building in general. It's fun. It is definitely something, if someone had the time, I would encourage them to do. But there are also a lot of really good settings actually available, and some of them I actually prefer to run as they're designed. Shadowrun's cyberpunk fantasy hybrid is one of those. I love the setting just as it is. It's
I'll learn
really
more
well
about that
designed.
setting.
Yeah, it's really well designed. I really like it. The weird combination of magic and tech is just really, really cool to me.
I was actually just asked if I was interested in DMing Pathfinder, and I'm like, I've never run Pathfinder, but yes.
Steampunk? I love steampunk.
Pathfinder isn't strictly steampunk. It's basically just like it's very similar to D&D, but like
it's D&D 3.75.
essentially.
Like it was 3.5 that
Yeah.
some guys homebrewed and published. It's what it is.
And it's got a lot of extra like weird stuff
well
that they
done.
wouldn't that was put into
Yeah,
D&D.
Like it's well done, but
Oh yeah,
And
to
It is
I
what
think
I
it has a
prefer.
terms that people would understand, it's 3.75. Just because it's not fourth, it's not fifth, it's not third, it's not.
It's definitely
3.5.
wrong to call it Diet D&D, but it's funnier to call it Diet D&D.
But the thing is, it's not. Like
it is.
it's
It is definitely not
really-
accurate to say that.
It's really, really crunchy, like 3.5 was. As
A lot more
as
rules and
set.
mechanics and whatnot.
Yeah, and if you like that style of game, it's great.
Oh yeah, I
Fixes
It's
some
what
of
I
the things that
prefer
were
just
wrong
because
with
it has-
3.5 without being so different that you would have to necessarily change your worlds from 3.5 to run it.
Mm-hmm. I mean, hell, Matt Mercer was able to change his Pathfinder game into a game of 5e pretty easily, but I think that says more about 5e than it does about Pathfinder.
Actually,
It does.
Uh, 3.5 and Pathfinder are really easy to turn into 5th edition. I haven't looked at all the math, but a lot of it is really easy to simplify into 5th edition's math to make it run well.
The biggest the biggest question is basically just seeing if the random crap that in Pathfinder, the guys who make it just threw in a ton of random crap. There's so many rules for different things instead of
Today on Random Bullshit.
yes, it's kind of like that. They added in so much stuff that they just never would, that Wizards would never put in D&D. They would just start a new edition before they added it in. That's the biggest question, is if you have that as a big part of your world, you're going to have to come up with a way to put it. You're going to have to
Does Pathfinder have a default setting?
I'm sure it
What do you
like
mean?
at all? As in
Yeah.
like 5th edition D&D and like a lot of other editions of D&D, their default setting is the Forgotten Realms.
It's called Golarion or something. I don't know how to pronounce it. But
most games I've seen have a default setting. Some of them are really well done. Some of them are less well done.
I don't think Fate does, because it's like designed to run anything.
I think the Fate
It's
system
how you
does.
spell it right there. But
Golarion.
it's not cooked into the rules at all.
Yeah.
It's not even mentioned. It's barely even mentioned in the rule books. In fact, in the core rule book, I don't even think it says the word Golarion anywhere at all.
It's been a while since
You
I
mean
looked
like-
through it, but I think you're right. I don't think it's in there at all. Because I think it's
Cool.
literally, they have like a setting book if you want to run in that world.
Like, this is the
Golarion-
world. If you
type
want
of Pokemon from the Galar region. Sickest joke. God, I'm funny.
But no, most settings I've seen have come with a default region
Mhm.
or world. I think Fate has one, but it's one of those things that it's like so generic nobody uses it.
Right?
Because I mean that's one of the things I'm not a huge fan of Forgotten Realms for, is it's a very generic setting. It has
Mhm.
some cool bits to it, and I won't say that it doesn't, because it definitely does, but it is set up as a default world.
All right, so here's something. Carter, you are less of a dungeon master and more of a player, and most of the games you've ever played in have been in my campaign setting.
Pretty much, yeah.
One of the games that I ran for you that was sort of a weird hybrid was when I ran Dragon of Icespire Peak, except for I set it in my campaign setting in a town that was vaguely similar to Phandalin. And so, as a player, what is one thing from my world that you always remember?
Oh my god. Ah, jeez. Are we
I put
talking
you on
like,
the spot, so you're not going to remember anything now.
hey, I'm not dumb. I'm just panicking.
Okay, got it.
Fair.
That's a t-shirt if I've ever heard it.
Are we talking about like big, like really big, like
Anything.
world, like
Anything.
really anything? The
Yeah,
stuff that I
anything.
helped make.
Fair.
I mean,
The stuff that
yeah,
pertain to your character.
I get it.
Yeah, when I play, I like playing races that are unconventional and what people don't usually play, like lizard folk, and my current character Lysander is a Leonin.
Right,
And
so you like playing animal like creatures.
not just animal stuff. I've always wanted to play a Warforged. I like playing stuff that's exotic and unique because I can really make it my own.
Yeah, I like Warforged too, until I played one, and then I didn't like it anymore. Because they have, like, I don't know, maybe it was just the way I was playing it, or maybe the campaign I was playing it in, but it got really stale really fast, because, like, I don't know, when you lose that, like, mortal element, it kind of makes your character feel a little boring. Because, like, you can't eat, you can't drink, and like drinking's like half of the fun when I play D&D. You can sleep, but not really, and so that makes the whole
What
resting
I'm
mechanic weird.
hearing is Parker wants to play one of my Warforged, the Forgeborn, that are much more human.
Where like they need fuel to exist.
Yes and no.
That'd be
They
kind of cool mechanic
go
to add to
into-
Warforged.
They kind of go into like a dormant state where they don't need anything,
Hmm.
but it's kind of like turning off your car.
It exists.
Don't have a car,
Yeah,
so
but you get
Ha!
the concept. It's like turning off.
what's it?
You know, it's like turning off a sentient machine. It doesn't
Yep.
use any fuel because it's off.
Hmm.
But yeah, I
however,
help.
it also doesn't go bad like cars if you let them sit off for extended periods of time, because they have a
What
good
were
bit
you
of
saying, Carter?
magic juju in them.
So yeah, I am what I remember most is the stuff that I've helped create or that my characters have inspired him to create in the world building. Because if there's one thing I love and there's one thing that really wants me to get into DMing is world building. I
Yeah.
love world building.
And I know
Uh,
we've talked about it. Me, Parker, Kian have talked about doing a series just about world building. But
I mean, is this not it?
yes and no.
Dude, I would be totally
I
down
would
for that.
like to do something that was significantly more planned than what these usually are, because these are usually
Yeah, these are just us shooting the
have-
shit when we can't run D&D.
yeah, we have 2 or 3 topics that we really want to talk about, and then we kind of fill in for
You snowball it.
Hmm.
whatever else that we kind of play off of each other for. For that,
Hopefully, I'll be getting a new job soon, so I won't be working weekends at
that would be nice.
9 to 10.
Yeah.
Weekends, but I haven't gotten my schedule yet.
Casey's sucks. Never work at a Casey's. I don't recommend it.
Dude, you sure you should be saying that while you're still working there on the internet?
What are they gonna do? Watch my D&D stream?
I mean, you said
Your
that
boss
the
is one of the
boss
2
wanted
folks currently watching.
Oh no, that boss has since left their position at Casey's. So
Okay, so then you're safe.
Perfectly safe.
even if I wasn't, if I get fired, I'm looking for another job anyway, so I don't care.
Fair.
Which doesn't bode well if I'm trying to get another job.
Yeah.
Am I being too
So the stuff
Sorry.
I've helped create for Parker's campaign have usually been about the culture or the biology of the races,
Hmm.
because I am a huge animal nut. I know way too much about animal biology.
You really should
And
watch
so-
your phrasing on the internet, Carter.
Okay,
we're well
pe-
past
Not that kind.
I mean, like some random person watches the stream is gonna think you're a furry,
No.
and not like a Joey kind of furry, like the weird pervy kind of furry.
No. Don't give them ideas, Parker.
The 2 people that are watching this, all right, cool.
They already had
So
those
anyway.
ideas.
My boss and his friend who are watching this video, they're gonna think,
On the
oh,
plus
Parker's
side,
friend's
they
a
can't
furry.
see your face, so all they know is that you're Carter.
Mm.
I may have a
Nothing.
webcam around here somewhere. I had to buy one for my Zoom meets, but I think Cooper has it, so I could try to go find it if you guys would let me take a leave for a bit.
I mean,
Oh, well, we're probably gonna be ending here shortly, anyway.
yeah,
So.
I suspect we'll only be on for, maybe another 10, 15 minutes tops.
The best
I
description
have-
of myself I can give is short guy with weird hair and a goatee.
I'd hardly call it a goatee if anybody can see it, Carter.
Shut your mouth.
That
It's
describes
It's transparent. It's there,
so
but it's
many
transparent. Yeah. Yeah, if you don't want to use a cam, like it's all right. Like I'm
I'd
pretty
be
sure there are
okay
people
with
who,
it if I could find the damn thing.
yeah, because
Yeah,
there. I'm pretty sure there's
and
plenty of people who have thrived for years on the internet without revealing their face.
there have, and like
My face ain't
I
anything
just think
special.
I just think for something like this where it's more like a talk show, it's more entertaining to have somebody to look at.
I'm just a narcissist and like to see my own face.
Fair enough.
Also, why I like being a dungeon master because I'm a huge narcissist.
But no, does anyone actually have any settings that they particularly like? Setting styles, not like I know what all of us are gonna say, except potentially Carter, who hasn't necessarily started making his own world.
Oh, if
Dark
we're talking about my
fantasy and
default-
steampunk.
Yeah, I was gonna say our default is going to be well, my world is my favorite, and why wouldn't it be?
oh,
but, like, a
I wouldn't
style-
say mine's my favorite. Eberron is my favorite.
Yeah, no,
And it's
my
not
world
even-
is also not my favorite. I
Really?
prefer several to mine.
I like mine.
I do too.
Yeah.
It's not
Yeah,
my
my-
favorite.
My favorite, I guess, is it kind of called? Is the word technically genre?
Yeah.
Genre would be
Yeah, like-
appropriate.
Or flavor of fantasy.
Yeah, dark fantasy and steampunk. Those are my two favorites.
Combine the two, and you got Vampire the Masquerade, I think. I don't
Never
know, I've
heard
never
of
played the
that
game.
because I'm not a huge DM person, but I might have to look into that. But I'll get back to you when I have enough money to buy the books.
It's pretty good.
Ooh, they're expensive, Carter.
Yeah, I know.
But
Oh,
Vampire
the only one you
Masquerade
need.
is very focused on the social aspects of life of a vampire.
In Vampire the Masquerade, do you play as the vampires or the hunters?
Yes,
You play as the
you
vampire.
play as a vampire.
World
Ah.
of Darkness is actually the setting for that. You can play werewolves in.
It's Werewolf
like-
the Apocalypse.
Is it Werewolf the Apocalypse?
Werewolves,
There's Mage
Yes.
the
werewolves are
Awakening,
superior to vampires. Fight me on it.
I will.
Changeling, The Dreaming.
'Cause you're
all
wrong.
take place in that same setting.
No, I'm not.
Yeah,
They're
you are.
all part of the World
No.
of Darkness.
The only instance where vampires are not as cool as werewolves is the Twilight franchise, and that hardly counts. Sorry.
Hey, you can't. Hey,
you offended.
the werewolves in
Go
Twilight
all those-
also suck.
They are, but they're better than the vampires.
That's because the Twilight series is just, ugh, it's a pile of vomit.
The first one's okay. The first one I can watch and tolerate it. The rest of them are very cringy and not well written. However, that last movie that they made had that awesome fight scene at the end, so that's pretty cool.
Haven't seen them, won't see them.
They're worth a try, I guess. Well, actually, no. The first and the last two. Just so you can see, because the last two are split into two parts, so you need to watch the last two so you can understand why that fight scene happens, and that's the only reason why. Otherwise, I'm not going to sit here and defend Twilight because I hate Twilight. But
Yeah, I saw the first one, did not enjoy it enough to watch anymore.
that's valid.
All right, Kian, did you
Oh.
have a favorite style of setting?
Favorite style of setting, I'd be inclined to say post-apocalypse.
Oh,
Or
In a
alternative-
post-apocalypse game.
What was that?
I've never run a post-apocalypse game. I've never run anything outside of the traditional fantasy because in a fantasy world you can make everything up and it'll kind of make sense. But with like sci-fi and post-apocalypse and stuff, you kind of have to know what you're talking about, and I don't know what I'm talking about. Well, like if somebody like brought up a gun, I don't know anything about guns. So I'm like, you pull up a shotgun. I didn't want a shotgun. Well, I don't know. I don't know.
I know a very limited amount about guns, so I wouldn't
I
be
know that
too
they
much help.
shoot things, and black powder.
Technically, no. Guns now don't use black powder; they use
No.
smoke.
I know that.
But it
I'm
still
I'm
is
dumb.
a
I'm not that dumb.
dark. I mean, it looks fairly similar. It's a little bit more gray.
Oh, are we talking about guns still?
I look personally
I-
towards
that's-
post-apocalypse and space. Like anything if it's big space travel, like
I want to run
Halo.
a Star Wars game, but I also don't know enough about the world of Star Wars. Like I know a lot, but not
Dude, just
enough.
come to me and Ethan. We will tell you everything.
Yeah, I don't want to. I don't want running a game to be like homework.
It won't be homework because we'll
Parker
give
gets
you
to-
all the answers.
Gets to experience
Sounds like homework.
a reverse lore dump
Yeah, no, fuck that.
where the players just dump lore on the dungeon master.
See, I would love to have Ethan run Ethan Nance, not
I know.
Ethan Terry. I would love Ethan Nance to run a Star Wars game, but unfortunately, he's only good at running one shots because most of the encounters he creates tend to get his players killed. I know he's killed 3 of my characters.
I mean, it happens.
I can't wait to kill him over and over again in Strahd.
He is very, very harsh when it
Mhm.
comes to encounters.
He expects me to be harsh, but I'm not because I'm a good person.
I would enjoy playing Curse of Strahd. I think it'd be fun.
I would run it for you, if I lived closer to you, so we could run it in person.
Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah, Parker, Ethan, and I all live in the same fucking town. So
Yeah, I could literally walk to Carter's house right now and make it there before midnight. Actually, I could probably make it there before the end of the hour.
exactly.
I was
This
like,
town is tiny.
Before midnight isn't saying too much.
I'm about to say, yeah, that's an hour from now. At an hour and a half from now.
I can make it a pretty good distance in that time. Probably not to where you guys
Yeah.
live, but a pretty good distance.
Oh, no, probably not. Because I think from where we live by car, it's an hour and a half.
That sounds about right.
Yeah, we
Because
live
we're
in the
here.
middle of nowhere.
I know.
Say Bettendorf? Something like that?
Yeah.
That area? Maybe we shouldn't be talking about where we live on the internet.
No. Probably not.
Yeah, maybe it's probably a dumb idea.
Luckily, I live in the Quad
Hey,
Cities area, and that's a huge
Easy.
fucking area. So
My area code is... My zip code is... I'm an idiot.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's not.
And
actually
then
what it is.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Exactly.
I'm pretty sure anybody with half a brain could figure out, oh yeah, that's probably not his real code.
You'd be surprised with all the people that I've known. It's been, yeah.
It
I'm
would
not
be
surprised.
a lot smaller margin than you think it would be.
Yeah.
This is probably one of the weirdest streams I've ever been on, and I've only been on it for like a quarter of it.
It's
It's
how
fun.
our talk show seems to go.
Uh-huh.
If nothing else, even
Hey,
if no one else watches it, at least we have fun.
by
yeah.
the way,
I mean, that's the point of this.
Yeah, kind of.
speaking of that Star Wars game that you can't run, Parker, because you don't know Star Wars, and Ethan can't run because he would kill us all. Joey, could you please run that
I
that
have
one?
Fantasy Flight Star Wars.
Yeah. Can you please run
I
that
hate
for us?
Fantasy Flight Star Wars.
When?
The combat is so gross. I hate it. Combat takes like 9 hours. It's unbearable.
I don't know that I've had a combat last longer than like 15 minutes.
I think that was just Spencer.
It might have been just
Fucking up.
Spencer. But like,
Even with
Rolling
my
the dice
players
and then
not really
decrypting all the
knowing, I
symbols.
think it took maybe half an hour for the first combat.
yeah, but like you have to roll it and then decipher all the symbols and figure out whether or not they're hits or successes.
So
Bro,
yes,
there's like
Joey,
six
just getting a number.
symbols.
stream or not on stream. I don't care. You're running that, and I'm playing it.
Okay.
I'll join. I
Right on.
love Star Wars is my favorite thing ever. So
I don't know how to be a Jedi, but I want to be a Jedi. Like I don't know how to act.
If we play that
Then be a
game,
Sith.
we'll worry
No.
about what kind of characters. Or I guess I should say when we play that, we'll worry about what kind of characters people want to make. Because we will
Mhm.
only use one version of the rulebook, not all 3. Made that mistake.
I've already got a character idea all drawn up for it, man. I've been saving this character for like ever.
It's a
What-
Jedi, right?
No, it is a Dathomirian Zabrak, a monk. He uses the
A
Force.
monk?
Yeah, a monk.
So like Shrut from Rogue One.
Sort of,
Yes.
but he's not blind.
Okay, just to be clear, are you making something that Joey would tell me I cannot play with the rule book that lets me use a lightsaber?
No, that would go in that same book.
Because that is like I will murder you if your character tells me I cannot be a Jedi.
Like I said, we would discuss beforehand what kind of game people wanted, because there's 3 sets of rules. You can either play Edge of the Empire, Age of Rebellion, or Force and Destiny. They are designed to be mixed together and used that way. It's terrible, don't do it.
If it's not Force and Destiny, I don't want it.
Fair enough. Sounds like everybody wants to play Force and Destiny characters, so if we play, we'll play Force and Destiny. But,
Wait,
like, it has...
Being a
each
smuggler
one
is cool, but like being a
has,
Jedi is better.
2 or 3 different extra mechanics that go with it. So the more of them you merge together, you start really kind of fucking yourself over. With
I was
ton of
thinking about
extra
running
stuff.
SWTOR on Star Wars Day, but instead I played Grand Theft Auto Online all day. Which I have
Was
just
there-
gotten back into.
I was gonna go bring a lightsaber to school on Star Wars Day, and then I realized that was a bad idea, so I didn't.
Ian, are you still in high school? What
Yes,
the fuck?
I'm in school.
What the fuck? You don't seem that much younger than me. Why are you a whole ass year behind me?
Because I'm a year younger than you.
That's fucked up.
And today on the local news,
Oh, damn it. It
a
won't,
young
well,
high
it
school
won't turn on.
student was kicked out of his school in the last year because he brought a sword to school. Yes, it was
Bro,
plastic.
that doesn't even pale in comparison to the kid who like once set a porta potty on fire at our track.
Ah,
Small towns are whack.
Hey,
Dude, that thing's huge. How many ounces is that? How many liters is that?
this is a half a gallon.
What the fuck? I
All
thought
the
my water
fou-
bottle was
all
big.
the water fountains are still off at my job for COVID.
Oh,
So
where do you work?
we're not going to discuss
Field and
that when
Stream.
we're on the internet.
Oh yeah, I know. I thought you worked at like
There's not a
the
lot
gun
of-
section of a Walmart.
There's not a lot of those stores around, and it would
So
significantly...
you work at
narrow
like an
down.
actual store and not the gun section of a Walmart. Cool.
If you care, I'll tell you when we're not streaming.
Okay.
Otherwise, it doesn't really matter. And
That's
also,
true.
if you want to run a setting where you need to go about guns, I happen to know a guy who can tell you a lot about guns.
I think I know a few.
also,
Probably.
by the way, speaking of lightsabers,
Oh,
That's not a toy lightsaber. That's just the name of Carter's sex toy.
Are we playing that game?
fuck you.
I don't have mine nearby.
Can't see Joey, so.
Oh, is
that's
that a
not fair.
sonic screwdriver?
No. That would be the
That is the
emitter
hilt
Oh.
to a lightsaber.
of my lightsaber.
Oh. I was about to say that. It looks like just a really big sonic screwdriver. Oh wow! Look, there is a Carter.
He exists.
Yeah,
He's real.
I am very much real.
Hey Carter, why haven't you uploaded anything on your YouTube channel? You poser.
I.
Because I'm lame.
Me too.
But no, I took.
I can't
I
see
don't-
Joey. I can't see Joey. I'm not sure what's wrong with that. One moment.
I can see him, so it must just be you.
Yeah, it probably
Yeah,
is
it's
glitching
just
out on
you.
your end. Discord is notorious for
Let
doing
me
this when
refresh the
we've
page.
kind of gone this long. And now it
Do you
says
run
Parker
Discord through your
is
browser,
Carter.
I did. I can see him
It's
again.
weird because it moved everybody around when you did that. I don't know why. Like on my
Sorry,
screen.
Guys, the last
I know.
video I
I'm here.
uploaded on YouTube was on August 29th, 2018.
Yeah,
Oh my god.
because I'm still subscribed to you. So
It's
When
been
I'm
almost
looking-
3 years.
when I'm looking for crap to watch, I often scroll past your channel and I'm like, oh yeah, guess he hasn't updated that. And just keep going.
It's still the same name, and I still have a bunch of subscribers who are dormant because I did this thing where I just went around looking at small YouTubers. I'm like, hey, sub for sub, and some
Yeah.
of them would sub to me, and I'd sub back, and then neither of us watched either's content. My most viewed video, the most viewed video I've ever made had like 2,000 views, but I deleted it.
What was it?
Basically, it was a tutorial video of how to record your phone screen using a mobile app so you can record gameplay footage on your phone.
Well, I guess someone's found it useful.
A few, like
about
2,300 people did.
before he deleted it.
I deleted it for a few reasons. One, because it was a terrible video, and two, because my phone background was of my ex at the time, so kind of cringe.
Oh,
Both of those very good
shit.
reasons.
Yeah.
It was also just a bad video. So now the most viewed video on my YouTube channel is when in our 8th grade, no, not 8th grade, I think it was like 7th grade social studies class, we had to make a presidential ad campaign. And
that one.
it was for a project. We recorded it and posted it to YouTube. It got a C because we didn't take it seriously at all.
You still got a
about right.
passing grade, though.
144 views as it sits, and it's been up there for 5 years. 2.5 minutes long. Oh my god. What did
Keep
we
in mind
do for
that,
2.5 minutes?
Keep
A
in
lot
mind
of
that at
things,
this point,
Parker.
we're going on like 3 hours, so
Oh. That's like about the length of our D&D streams.
it is, which I think is our longest time we've ever done the chat ones, because usually we cap them.
It's fine. Nobody's going to watch it anyway.
to
So.
2 hours, just
Yeah.
for no real reason. It's an arbitrary time we just kind of decided.
Comments are disabled on this video. Why? I didn't do that.
YouTube might have.
Guys, should I start uploading to my YouTube channel again?
I mean, you might as well.
As long as you let me be on the channel.
What do
I
you want to
mean-
be on the channel for?
I don't know. I'm bored, man. I have nothing to do.
You have your own YouTube channel, dipshit.
I don't have original ideas.
Neither do I. That's why I just post D&D stuff.
I don't have the book, so I can't post D&D shit.
You have a job now. Buy the books.
I don't have the... I'm not employed yet.
Well, you'll figure it out, I'm sure.
Yeah,
I don't know
real
what to
helpful.
post either.
So
I don't know what to post either.
Parker's gonna start posting on his D&D channel when he figures out what he wants to post. I'm going to as soon as I stop being lazy and actually make the fucking videos.
And I won't do anything because I'm a lazy piece of shit.
Agreed.
The sad thing is, all the crap to make those videos is like within arm's reach of this chair.
That just makes
And
me
I
mad
just
at you,
haven't
Joey.
done it.
I'm not mad, I'm just disappointed.
Let's see what's in arm's reach of my chair. Let's see. I got gaming headphones. I got a broken mechanical pencil. And that's it. My desk is very
I have several
barren.
of these little fidget toys because I have the attention span of an gnat.
My desk is actually a queen-sized mattress, so
Mine's an actual desk.
I
That was
well,
mine.
yeah, I'm a peasant, I'm sorry.
So it's more like a table that was repurposed into a desk. It's like the
Either I will afford a desk soon, or I will just wait until August when I'm back on campus and have a desk again.
I'm probably going to invest in buying a significantly better desk in the near future. Because this like hall table thing that I've been using as a desk is kind of starting to annoy me.
Alright.
Yeah. It's a nice
What
table.
annoys me is my room is on a slant, and my chair has wheels. So occasionally, I will just do this.
We'll just slowly float off screen.
Yeah.
Okay.
My chair
We
is
can
also
still
in the
talk
middle.
and stuff, but I think we should end stream.
Yeah. All right.
Yeah, I agree.
I believe if all
This
goes
shit's
according to
happening
plan,
again.
the next time we should be streaming is the 22nd.
22nd. That's so long from now.
I mean, yeah, but that would be 2 weeks from now. And I'm pretty
Yeah, but
sure-
it's been like 4 weeks since we've streamed D&D.
Yeah, but I'm also pretty sure I'm busy next weekend. Because I usually...
Joey, you slut.
I mean, I set this stuff up so that the weekends when we're supposed to stream, I don't plan anything. But that means I have to use the other weekends in the month to do the rest of the shit that I gotta get done.
Yeah.
I'm
the
I'm
last
Just
checking
on
we
you,
posted-
I don't have anything going on or anything planned ever.
Carter,
This is my
yeah, that's
life.
great. You're depressing. We don't care.
Spoken
so it's
like
been
a
1,
true
2,
friend.
3. So yeah, it's been almost 4 weeks since we posted something. Tomorrow we obviously can't post anything because it's Mother's Day.
Yeah, I feel like it'd be kind of crappy of us to be like, "Hey, Mom, yeah, I know it's Mother's Day, but we're gonna go stream D&D. So later."
I mean, that's fine with my mother, but that's just because of the relationship we have.
I mean, my mom probably wouldn't care either, but that's just she wouldn't care.
I just realized that our episode 8 stream in the comment section, not the comment section, the description of the video, it says our 7th installment, even though it's clearly episode 8.
Damn it. Oh well,
God, we're
that's
good at
fixable.
this. We're so good at this.
We are the most professional streamers in existence.
We're
Exist
very
now.
good at what we do.
We are so good.
Only the best. Okay. I guess the 22nd we'll have to do.
Yeah, sorry.
Not happy about it.
Well, I mean, I would work late, so I probably wouldn't make it in time tomorrow even anyway.
Are you
Yeah.
ever
Yeah.
happy, Parker?
Oh, yeah. Plenty of times. Like how happy I will be when I'm like, when Strahd is curb stomping whatever character you make for Curse of Strahd.
Hey, I'm not the one who kills your characters in the first session, man.
And on that
That's
note,
Ethan. Don't
see you
Yeah.
in a couple weeks.
Bye-bye.